Right, we've all seen his face before. We all know who he is. In case you don't know who he is, which I'd be quite surprised, he's Turtleneck Emo, or at least that's what it goes by on TikTok, and he's well known for having fairly well-educated arguments that he states in his TikToks, and he's in no way considered to be a pick-me, and there is controversy going on about him, and we might touch on it depending on what TikTok will say. It's just going to be one of those videos where I go through and watch all these TikToks and react. If we get to a certain TikTok, I'm gonna have to talk about the controversy. It's not my call. It's not my call. But let's begin immediately, as fast as possible.
The more time I spend listening to pro-life arguments, the more I'm convinced that all of the embryos that would become female are going to be pissed to find out they have more rights as an egg than they ever will as a woman. The more time I spend...
Now, that's interesting, because obviously what's implied there is that you can kill a woman. Now, I don't feel the need... I kind of do now, actually. I feel the need to say, you can't kill women. Do not try to kill women, okay? He might try to convince you to, but don't. And I say that because the right he wants to deny a fetus is the right to life. Obviously, you have a right to life. He's trying to deny that fetus that right. So what he's arguing is that women do not have that right as is, which is utterly ridiculous. You can't... I mean, who even thinks that's realistic? So what? You just get done. You get dragged to court. The judge says, right, look, mate, you've killed your wife, and then you watch your defense. Oh, I'm sorry, it was a woman. What did you think I was gonna do? It's that you really think you're gonna let off from that? No, of course not. Because it's utterly ridiculous. It's a utterly ridiculous concept. I think this is how you go down.
The problem with controlling and overprotective fathers is the fact that it teaches their daughters to accept being controlled or abused.
Well, 1 minute. Be right back. Right back. Sorry, someone knocked on the door.
By their future partners, so long as it's done out of concern or for their own good.
Okay, vote from what he said. I hate people that say it's for your own good. That's called tyranny. That is absolutely called tyranny. Believing that your will is greater than mine and therefore you know what's best than me is utterly ridiculous. Also, he's saying this as if people think overprotective fathers are good, but overprotective fathers are identified as this is identified as bad due to the word over, as in more than should be, therefore making overprotective a bad word. So of course it's bad. I don't like the point he's trying to make is that being an overprotective father is bad, but we know it's bad and we identify it as bad because we call it overprotective. This is also something else he does. He makes things gendered issues when they're realistically not. I mean, overprotective mothers, which considering no one's got dads anymore, is a bigger problem. Overprotective mothers have the exact same problem. I don't know why he's pretending they don't. And I feel like he is pretending, because otherwise he wouldn't have clarified fathers. Anyway, moving on.
As a man, I'm going to stop referring to other men in certain professions as male comedians or male journalists or male engineers, so that other men can realise how fucking stupid it sounds when you do it for women. Because the only real difference when it comes to a man and woman doing the same job is the fact that women get paid less.
Okay, I'm going to split that. I hate the smile on his face. I hate this because he thinks he's done something, but he hasn't. Right. First of all, who says female journalist? Who's the majority of journalists? I'm willing to bet are female, because those are bloggers now. Also, female engineer. The reason why it's female engineer is because there's really very few female engineers. They're very rare to come by. Also, like, I understand equality, and like women can do the same as men, but at the end of the day, right, I want me car to work, right, and. That right? That was a joke. That was a joke. But realistically, though, I call women. I don't call like female engineers. I just call them engineers. Female comedian is different because female comedians are a type of comedian. Realistically, you could be a male female comedian. A female comedian, at least for me, is just somebody who makes being a woman a part of their act. Like, if you took away their gender, they would have no jokes. That is what I think of when I think of a female comedian. Because most female comedians are not funny in the slightest. Like, what's that lass? Amy Schumer. Not funny. Never been funny. She couldn't be funny on accident, and she steals half her jokes, so I don't even know how she's not funny. Because you'd thought, I mean, if she's using other people's jokes, then she should manage it. But she is not funny, and she is a female comedian. But that's just my opinion. And now for the second part, it has been disproven that females are paid less. Females, I sound like MGTOW. That women are paid less in 2016. I should get what the shoe on head. This is when it shows my age. Mentioning all shoe on head, but shoe on head had this button where I should smack it, and I was gonna clap, but I completely missed my hand. It was very pathetic. Anyway, and it would say, the study that everyone quotes does not take into account hours worked, job worked, or if the person asked for a raise. I think that was it. But yeah, women are not paid less than men. That's completely illegal and doesn't even make sense, because surely then you just hire women if they're cheaper. But obviously, since they're not, it's not really a point. So I don't know why he's smiling like that. Next TikTok.
Too many men get so disappointed when they're told they're having girls because they realise they have to spend the next 18 plus years of that girl's life protecting her from the same harassment they tried so hard to convince other women didn't exist. Okay, Too many men get so disappointed when they're told they're having girls because they...
He wouldn't stop. Right, I mean, I'm not a father, and I doubt he's a father looking at him. And looking at a few controversies he's been into. But... So I can't really see on that one, and frankly, neither can him, as neither of us are fathers. But knowing of a few fathers, my dad never had girls. I've just got brothers, so I can't really talk on this. But fathers tend to be very protective. Generally speaking, they're very protective. So they will make a problem out to be a bit more serious than it actually is. You could argue fathers are more likely to be overprotective. I feel like that's something you could argue. Of course, there is no such thing as fathers anymore, because feminism fucked it all. So, yeah. Next TikTok.
As a brown man, it's always so unsettling to hear white men insist that they were born in the wrong generation. Like, what generation were you supposed to be born into then? The one where you'd strip women of all of their aspirations outside of being a servant housewife?
Hell yeah.
No education, no voting, no bank account? Or maybe the one where you'd practice literal slavery and open xenophobia? Or maybe the one where you criminalize people for choosing to love someone of the same gender? Or maybe the one where you installed capitalism into developing countries to exploit them of their natural resources and deprive the people of their futures? Which one is it? Which one are you talking about?
All of the above. Right, realistically, people just like the way they're dressed. I don't know why he's got all this. When people say I was born in the wrong generation, they just like the way it looked. They don't really care about the politics of the time. They just like the idealised versions, and there's nothing wrong with that. Just let people enjoy the past, I say. Also, what I love how, like, because obviously, he lies, right? I don't care what you say. He's not black, not brown. Sorry, he's not brown. He is the least brown person I've ever known, and I find that interesting because obviously, if I look at him, I'd say he was white. But he says he's brown, and it's so he can put that racism in. Because realistically, right, he goes back those times, he'd probably be an owner. He'd probably own them. It's also interesting because realistically, right, people don't think of this. And he says white men. So when he was talking about white men, obviously it's for the style. So they'd go back in time, they'd dress up the style. He's thinking, well, what about the women? As if the women have anything to do with this. He's identified white men, and now he's using that. Now he's using women to attack them. And he does have a history of using women. I'm making a lot of references to the controversy, but I do hope we actually do get into it, because it's pretty interesting. More moral questions should be had.
If you want context as to how much more privilege men have than women, ask a man what specific trust issues he has with women.
Well, the fact that if they say anything, they will be believed. They could accuse a man of assault, rape, anything really, but they would be believed. That's probably the most, and those actions are going to be life destroying. We'll carry on.
He'll show you pictures like this. However, if you ask a woman what specific trust issues she has with men, she'll show you articles like this. She'll show you articles like this.
Fun fact about the Sarah Everard one. The man that killed her was actually in cahoots with a woman who helped kill her. And actually, I don't know if it was helped kill her or helped bury her. So realistically, you know, I mean, if we're going to use Sarah Everard, then you should really be afraid of women as well, because they have a tendency of helping in crimes.
This and that. The difference is, men are afraid that women don't actually have golden eyelids.
I actually said false rape allegations, but I mean, if you want a straw man, I'll let him straw man, you know.
Women are afraid that men are good.
Also, can we just talk about that Massachusetts one? Woman living in Netherlands allegedly killed by... No, wrong one. Woman lured on Tinder dates, chopped into 14 pieces. What the hell? Surely that's not necessary. That's... sex cult. It would be a sex cult. That's so weird. That's dodgy, that. Like, I mean, killing someone alone is pretty dodgy, but to cut them up into 14 pieces, it's just not necessary.
Women do 20% of all violent crimes. Men do 80%. Women do 4% of...
Now do non-violent crimes. I'd imagine it would still be men. Because women... Obviously, we all know Jordan Peterson. But women release violence in a legal way. That's why. That is absolutely why. Women socially ostracize people, which is completely legal. So that's